Ohio voters head to the polls on Tuesday for the state's primary election. In the Republican Senate primary, a long list of candidates are vying to replace retiring GOP Senator Rob Portman. Contenders have spent weeks trying to win over potential voters and the support of former President Trump. But it was J.D. Vance, an author, conservative commentator, and relative newcomer to politics, who ultimately received Trump's endorsement. For more, I'm joined by CBS News chief election and campaign correspondent Robert Costa, who is in Columbus, Ohio. Robert, J.D. Vance was a vocal opponent of Donald Trump back in 2016. So what's changed since then? And how did he win the former president's support out of a very crowded Republican primary field?
J.D. Vance has changed his tune on former President Trump. He was a critic in 2016. Now he's an advocate for the former president and Trumpism, that vein of nationalism within the Republican Party. He sees where the Republican Party is going in the industrial Midwest, in Ohio and elsewhere, and he wants to ride that wave. So he's changed his views on several issues, and he's changed his tone when it comes to the former president. That helped him win the endorsement, along with an alliance with billionaire Peter Thiel, who was also close to the Trump family.
Well, with Trump's support, then, is J.D. Vance the favorite to win the Senate primary, or is it expected to be a close race?
It's very close. We spent all day with voters here in Ohio, and it's evident that J.D. Vance, with many Trump supporters, has gotten a boost. We have seen him surge in the polls in recent days. At the same time, State Senator Matt Dolan, who's one of the owners of the Cleveland Guardians baseball team, he has also gained in the polls. But what's interesting is that Dolan is a Trump critic. He's running as a traditional Republican. So while J.D. Vance and conservative Josh Mandel clamor for Trump supporters and their votes, you have one candidate in Matt Dolan who has seemingly his own political lane. We'll see how it all plays out on Tuesday.
I was going to ask, that's so interesting to hear about sort of the ideological splits there, because traditionally when you look at a state like Ohio, for instance, Governor DeWine would be very much considered an establishment Republican, but this is now 2022, very different times. I wonder, Bob, is this really going to be sort of an indication of where Republicanism is in the state of Ohio, then, based on what happens in this primary?
Political experts and strategists in both parties often look to Ohio as a bellwether for where the parties are moving, where the countries are moving. This is a key battleground, not only in 2022, but ahead of the 2024 presidential race. And what they're watching on Tuesday is this. Is the Republican Party in places like Ohio drifting back toward the politics of Senator Rob Portman, the retiring senator, former Governor John Kasich, current Governor Mike DeWine, that more traditional Republican mold? If it is, then Matt Dolan has a real shot at winning this race. At the same time, if it's the party's still very much in Trump's image, then J.D. Vance or Josh Mandel will likely win this race. But most voters, they're not really sure how it's all going to play out. They think it's up for grabs.
So interesting. Well, given the current 50-50 split in the Senate, Robert, how critical is this race come November?
It's critical. The Democrats right now in Washington have such a narrow Senate majority, a narrow House majority. Democratic Congressman Tim Ryan is expected to win the primary here in Ohio on Tuesday, though he does have a progressive challenger who is respected. But Ryan's close to President Biden. He identifies as a Biden-type Democrat, someone who has a working-class appeal, his own version of populism, and more from the left of center. And he believes that voters in Ohio are exhausted by Republican infighting, and because of that, he has a shot, despite what's happening with higher gas prices, with inflation in Ohio and elsewhere.
Yeah, we know that the congressman, though, has gotten some pushback on some of his anti-China rhetoric. In particular, we'll see if that is, in fact, a factor. How important is an endorsement more broadly here, Robert, from former President Trump for GOP candidates this year? And what could the results of these primary races tell us about his influence heading into the November midterm elections?
I'm a baseball fan, and we just mentioned the Cleveland Guardians.
Yep.
This is somewhat of a first inning political experience of an 8-9 inning, or shall we say an 8-9 week stretch coming up, where President Trump's political capital will be tested in primary after primary. Republicans across the country are paying attention to Ohio. Will it be J.D. Vance or not with the Trump endorsement? And they're going to also pay attention to the upcoming gubernatorial primary in Georgia. Will Trump's endorsed candidate, former Senator David Perdue, win there? And they will be paying attention to Pennsylvania, where Dr. Mehmet Oz, the celebrity doctor, has won Trump's endorsement in that crowded, competitive Senate primary. So Trump, as he eyes a possible 2024 presidential bid, is trying to establish that he still has power, he still has sway. It all begins, that case for him, in Ohio on Tuesday.
You said the first inning of an 8 or 9 week stretch. Robert, that means we have so much more to go. Before then, Robert Costa, we thank you as always for your reporting and analysis.
Get your box of Cracker Jacks and popcorn.
It sounds like it's time.
We'll be here to cover it all.
We've got some time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.